Most seniors don't need more storage bins. They need fewer burdens. After 60, your home should be a sanctuary, not a storage unit. But years of life, love, and memory can turn any house into a maze of clutter. No wonder nearly 80% of seniors feel overwhelmed when trying to declutter. What if the problem isn't you, but the method? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on what professional organizers won't tell you. These 4 psychological strategies are so effective, most experts never share them. Because if you knew, you'd need fewer sessions and less stuff. These aren't just tips, they're mindset shifts. And they worked wonders for Martha, a 72-year-old widow who transformed her entire home and her peace of mind in just 3 weekends. Ready to reclaim your space and live lighter? Let's begin. 1. The future self method. For most of our lives, we make decisions based on the past. We keep the dress from the wedding, the tools from our old job, the gifts from people we no longer see. These objects carry meaning, memories, identities, stories, and so we hold on. But what if that's exactly what's keeping us stuck? This is where the future self method changes everything. It's not about what this object meant. It's about whether it belongs in your future. Professional organizers rarely talk about this because it breaks the model they're selling. They focus on sorting and storing your stuff, not challenging whether you should still own it at all. Why? Because if you declutter from the inside out, you won't need endless bins, boxes, or bookings. Martha's turning point. When I met Martha, her house told a story most seniors can relate to. Decades of accumulation, grief from losing a spouse, and a deep fear of letting go. The dining table was buried. The spare room was impassable. Her hallways had become narrow walkways. She'd tried hiring organizers, 3 in fact, thousands of dollars spent. Nothing changed. Until I asked her one question. Who do you want to be for the next 10 years of your life? She paused, then smiled gently. I want to host dinners again. I want my grandkids to sleep over. I want to paint. That question flipped the script. She stopped trying to preserve every part of her past and started curating her future. How to use the future self method. Write a clear vision statement. Literally write it down. Imagine your ideal lifestyle over the next 5 to 10 years. Where do you want to spend time? Who do you want in your space? What kind of activities bring you joy? Martha wrote 3 things. Weekly dinners with friends, sleepovers with her grandchildren. A cozy art studio to explore painting. Shift the evaluation question. Most people ask, should I keep this? Will I need it someday? But those questions focus on fear and the past. Instead, ask, does this belong in my future? Does this support the person I want to become? For Martha, that meant keeping a few great cooking tools, but letting go of 12 serving platters she hadn't used in a decade. It meant turning the cluttered spare room into a welcoming guest art room instead of a storage pit for what once was. Create zones that reflect your vision. Once she had her vision, Martha rearranged her home by intention. The dining room table became sacred space, no longer a mail pile. The new art studio had light, openness, and tools she loved. The kitchen was simplified to reflect how she cooks now, not how she used to. Let go without guilt. The key isn't just asking the right question, it's allowing yourself to answer honestly. If something doesn't fit your vision, it doesn't mean it's bad or useless. It simply means its season has passed. Letting go is not loss, it's liberation. Wisdom nugget. You are not your past. You are your present and your possibility. Your home should reflect who you're becoming, not just who you've been. The clothes, objects, hobbies, and tools from your earlier decades served a purpose, but if they no longer support your next chapter, it's okay to thank them and release them. Final thought for this method. Martha cleared 60% of her clutter not by forcing herself to be ruthless, but by becoming deeply intentional. She didn't need a better storage system, she needed a better vision. And so do you. Ask yourself today, what does my future self need and what's getting in the way? Your answers might be the key to unlocking not just a cleaner home, but a lighter, freer, more meaningful life. 2. The legacy timeline technique. We save things for them. The china set from your mother, the baby shoes from your now adult children. Boxes of family photos, school projects, love letters, and every birthday card ever received. Because someday, they'll want it, right? It's a beautiful intention built on a painful myth, one that the legacy timeline technique gently but powerfully dismantles. The truth no one tells you. Here's the hard truth most professional organizers avoid. 65% of adult children don't want their parents' stuff. Not because they don't love you, not because the items aren't meaningful, but because their lives are different. They're busy, they're minimalists. They don't have room or emotional space for entire households of inherited memory. Martha was shocked when she heard this. She had saved everything for her two daughters. Her mother's china, their old school crafts, dozens of photo albums, even a wedding dress no one had asked about. Her house was full of things she wasn't using, but didn't dare let go of because she believed she was saving a legacy. The shift from saving it all to sharing it now. The legacy timeline technique asks one radical question. Why wait until you're gone to pass things on? Instead of holding everything just in case, this method helps you curate what matters most and share it while you're still here to witness the joy. How to apply the legacy timeline technique. Create 3 categories for sentimental items. Use now. If it means something to you, display it, use it, enjoy it. Don't save it for someday. Digitize and release. Take photos or scan documents, then let the physical item go. You'll keep the story without the storage. Pass down. Now, if you were holding something for someone else, ask them now if they want it. Have a legacy conversation. Martha invited her daughters for lunch, not to guilt trip but to connect. She asked a simple question. Is there anything here that's meaningful to you? The results were surprising. One daughter loved an old painting Martha hadn't thought was important. Neither wanted the china. Both adored a cookbook filled with handwritten family recipes. Honor the no. If someone doesn't want an item, let that be okay. Their no doesn't devalue your memory. It frees you to make decisions based on truth, not assumption. Create legacy digitally. Martha scanned photos, letters, and childhood drawings into a shared online album. Now, instead of gathering dust, those memories are shared, backed up, and easy to revisit. Tell the stories while you can. Legacy isn't just the stuff. It's the stories behind the stuff. Martha recorded voice notes and short videos explaining key items. Her daughters now have not just objects, but living context. Wisdom. Nugget. You're not just decluttering, you're clarifying your legacy. You're saying these are the things that mattered, these are the memories I want to carry forward, and I trust you enough to choose what speaks to you. Letting go becomes easier when it's framed as gifting, not discarding. Final thought for this method. Martha felt immense relief after this process. Not sadness, not loss. Relief, she said. I thought I had to hold on to everything to keep the memories alive. But I realized the stories live in me, not in the stuff. And now they live in my daughters too. That is legacy at its best. Not hidden in boxes, but passed on with love, while you're still here to see it. 3. The emotional anchoring system. Letting go of things isn't hard because we're disorganized. It's hard because we're human. Behind every junk drawer, every dusty shelf, and every untouched box is a story, a memory, a version of us, or someone we loved, that we don't want to lose. That's why decluttering often fails, because it focuses on the stuff, not the meaning behind it. This is where the emotional anchoring system becomes life-changing. It doesn't ask you to ignore your emotions, it asks you to honor them in a healthier, more sustainable way. Why clutter feels so heavy? When Martha tried to clear her late husband's workshop, she froze. It had been 5 years since his passing, but every hammer, screw, and tool held weight. Not just physical weight, emotional weight. She wasn't keeping the tools, she was keeping the connection. If I let go of his things, she whispered, I'm afraid I'll forget him. This is the core of emotional clutter. The fear that letting go of the item means letting go of the person, the moment, the identity. The shift from storage to symbol. The emotional anchoring system doesn't ask you to keep everything. It asks you to intentionally preserve the meaning so you don't need to keep the mass. How to use the emotional anchoring system. Identify the story or emotion behind the item. Don't just ask, "What is this?" Ask, "What does this represent? Why is this hard to let go of? Who or what am I really holding on to?" For Martha, her husband's hammer wasn't just a tool. It was a reminder of his hands, his craft, his quiet pride. Choose 1-2 signature items per category. Keep one item that captures the essence of the memory. A favorite tool from a loved one. One handwritten letter. One cherished baby blanket. Martha chose his favorite hammer and a photo of him in his workshop. Transform the memory into a display or ritual. Don't bury it, elevate it. She had the hammer mounted in a shadow box with the photo. She turned a shirt into a pillow. She created a ritual, lighting a candle and reading his notes on the anniversary of his passing. Release the rest with purpose. For everything else, say a private thank you. Acknowledge what it meant, then let it go. With love, not guilt. Invite others into the memory. Martha invited her children to the workshop and said, "Take anything that reminds you of your dad." They shared stories, cried, and laughed. Each took a tool or two. In doing so, the grief became shared, not hidden. The memory became living, not boxed. Create a digital or artistic archive. If there are too many keepsakes, take photos of meaningful groupings. Make a photo book. Record yourself telling the stories behind them. Memory doesn't have to live in clutter, it can live in intention. Wisdom nugget. You don't need to keep everything to remember what mattered. Letting go of things isn't letting go of love. It's making space for that love to breathe, grow, and remain present, not buried. The object is not the person. You carry them in your memory, in your voice, in the stories you still tell. Final thought for this method. When Martha cleared her husband's workshop, she thought she'd feel loss. Instead, she felt peace. That space became her favorite reading nook. Not because the tools were gone, but because his presence remained, in a form that comforted instead of overwhelmed. You don't need a house full of reminders to keep someone with you. One chosen anchor, held with love, is enough. 4. The Threshold Mastery Protocol. You declutter. You feel proud, light, free. And then, 6 months later, you look around and think, how did it get this full again? It happens more often than you think. In fact, 78% of people who declutter end up recluttering within 18 months. Because most organizing advice focuses on clearing what's already there, not how it keeps coming back. That's why professional organizers rarely share the real secret. To truly transform your space, you have to master your thresholds. What is a threshold? Your threshold is the invisible doorway between outside and inside, between what you are exposed to and what you allow into your home, your time, your life. You don't just need to declutter your house. You need to guard its gates. This is what I taught Martha next, not just how to clear her home, but how to keep it clear. The Threshold Mastery Protocol. This protocol teaches you how to control what comes in, not just what goes out. It's especially powerful for seniors because so many incoming items are tied to emotional habits or inherited responsibilities. Step by step, how to master your threshold. 1. Identify your accumulation triggers. Ask, what types of things keep entering your home and why? Common senior triggers include emotional purchasing, shopping to ease loneliness or boredom, aspirational items, things for a lifestyle you used to live or hope to return to, inherited burden, accepting others' clutter out of guilt or obligation, scarcity mindset, overstocking because of past financial insecurity. For Martha, the big one was this. I kept saying yes to things my friends were getting rid of. I became the neighborhood storage unit. Once she saw the pattern, she could start changing it. 2. Create personalized threshold questions. Instead of the generic, do I need this? Ask, am I accepting this out of obligation or genuine desire? Does this reflect the life I live today, not the one I used to live? If I let this item in, what am I saying no to? Space, clarity, freedom. These are powerful pause buttons that stop reflexive accumulation. 3. Implement the 48-hour pause. Before any non-essential item enters your home, wait 48 hours. Martha set up a consideration shelf near her front door. Any item that came her way, a free gift, a neighbor's hand-me-down, a thrift store find, had to sit there for 48 hours before earning a spot inside. Most things? She realized she didn't want them after all. 4. Use physical limits as emotional guards. Assign physical boundaries to categories of things. One shelf for books, one drawer for kitchen gadgets, one memory box per family member. If it doesn't fit, something else has to go. These physical limits create emotional clarity. 5. Reinforce with rituals. Once a week, Martha walks through her home and asks, "Did anything sneak in this week that doesn't serve my future self?" This ritual helps her reset, not just her space, but her mindset. Wisdom nugget. Decluttering is not a one-time event. It's a relationship with your space, your time, and your values. Every object you bring in should earn its place in your life. Mastering your threshold isn't about becoming rigid. It's about becoming deliberate. You're not just living lighter, you're living awake. Final thought for this method. After learning this protocol, Martha's home didn't just stay tidy. It stayed true to her. The things around her reflected the life she was actively living, not the one she'd already lived or one she was pressured to maintain. She stopped being the neighborhood keeper. She stopped shopping to fill emotional gaps. She started guarding her home like a garden, only letting in what would help her grow. And that made all the difference. Decluttering isn't just about creating space in your home. It's about creating space in your life. When you apply these 4 secrets, the future self method, the legacy timeline technique, the emotional anchoring system, and the threshold mastery protocol, you're not just organizing, you're reclaiming your clarity, energy, and peace. Until next time, declutter with intention and live with meaning.